You know, in the world of elite electric racing, the most vicious battles aren't the ones you see on the track for first place. No, the real war is fought deep inside the car, on a battlefield you can't see, against an enemy you can't see, heat. So today, we're cracking open a classified document, a top-tier consultant's playbook for winning that thermal war.
So let me ask you, what do you think really limits the speed of a car like this? Is it the 80 kilowatt motor? The battery's energy density? Well, what if I told you the true speed limit, the one that really separates the winners from the losers, has almost nothing to do with making power? It's all about getting rid of heat.
Think about it like this. Your motor power, that's just your potential to go fast. It's a number on a spec sheet. But your cooling capacity, that's your permission to actually use that power, lap after lap after lap. Without it, that awesome motor is just an expensive heater that's going to overheat before you even finish one lap.
So to really get how the best teams dominate, we're going to walk through their secret engineering playbook, chapter by chapter. We'll start with the unseen battlefield of racing, then cover the one unbreakable rule that changes everything. We'll size up the enemy, heat itself, and then lay out the war plan. After that, we'll look at the weapons you'll need, and finally, the secret weapon, the ghost in the machine that pulls it all together.
Okay, first things first, you have to understand the new rules of the game. For the top Formula student teams, managing heat isn't just some plumbing job you hand off to a junior engineer anymore. Nope, it's a core strategic pillar that literally dictates how you're going to win the race.
And here's the bottom line. The game has totally changed. This is no longer a contest to see who can build the most powerful motor. It's about who can build the most ruthlessly efficient thermal system that lets that motor run at its absolute peak consistently for the entire 22-kilometer endurance race. That's the real race you need to win. All right, let's talk about the single most important number in this entire playbook. This isn't a guideline, it's an unbreakable law. It shapes every single design decision, and it's what separates the teams on the podium from the ones who don't even finish.
60 degrees Celsius. That's it. That's the number. Seems pretty simple, right? But the power this one little temperature limit holds over a multi-million-dollar racing program is, well, it's immense. This is what we call the 60-degree golden rule, and it comes straight from the official regulations. Your car's battery management system is watching those cells like a hawk. The second, and I mean the second, a single one of them ticks over to 60.1 degrees, boom, your power is cut, race over. There are no do-overs, no second chances. It's an absolute ironclad limit. And here's where you really see how tough this challenge is. On a hot race day in Germany, the track itself can easily get up to 35 degrees Celsius. That leaves you a tiny, tiny 25-degree window to get rid of all the heat your battery is generating. For any team that's serious about winning, this basically makes simple air cooling a total non-starter. You are forced into a much more complex, high-performance liquid cooling system. It's non-negotiable. Okay, so we've got our hard limit. Now let's actually quantify the enemy. Before we can even think about a solution, we have to know exactly what we're up against. Where's all this heat coming from, and just how much of it is there?
At peak acceleration, when you're pulling the full 80 kilowatts, the thermal load is massive, and it's coming from all over the powertrain. You can see here, the motor is the biggest bad guy, generating over half the waste heat. But look at the battery pack. It's right behind it. And you can't forget the inverter either. You have to deal with all of it. Now, to really bring this home, let's drill down to a single battery cell. During that long endurance race, every single one of those mollicell cells in the pack is kicking out, on average, over 7 watts of heat. Now, try to imagine holding a 7-watt soldering iron. Okay, now imagine 288 of them, all packed together inside a sealed carbon fiber box. That's the problem you're trying to solve. So how in the world do you fight a war on multiple fronts at the same time? Well, you come up with a master strategy, and for a world-class thermal system, that strategy is a dual-loop architecture. It's actually a pretty elegant solution. First, you have a dedicated low-temp loop. It runs cool fluid, we're talking below 55 degrees, and it only services the battery pack. Why? Because batteries are total divas. They're sensitive and need to be kept cool. Then, you have a totally separate high-temp loop. It can run a lot warmer, and it handles the more robust motor and inverter. Finally, both of these loops run to high-efficiency radiators, usually in the side pods, where all that collected heat gets dumped into the air. Of course, having a brilliant strategy is one thing. Executing it is another. And that means you have to choose professional automotive-grade weapons. This right here is where so many new teams just fall flat on their face, trying to save a couple of bucks on parts that just are not up to the job.
I mean, the difference between an amateur setup and a professional one is night and day. Amateurs might grab some fans meant for a gaming PC. The pros are using environmentally sealed automotive-grade SPAL fans. Rookies use regular old hose clamps that can and will vibrate loose. Champions use zero-leak aerospace-grade Wiggins fittings. You see the pattern here, right? It's all about choosing components that will work every time under the worst conditions.
In fact, the professional playbook is very clear about what not to use. This is the official don't even think about it list. Those PC case fans? Nope. They'll die from the vibration and dust. Heavy off-the-shelf copper radiators? Forget it. You need custom, lightweight aluminum. And those worm deer hose clamps you get at the hardware store, they have absolutely no business being on a race car, period.
And this quote right here just captures the entire philosophy perfectly. You can spend weeks in simulations optimizing your radiator for a tiny gain, but if you use one cheap connector that leaks a few drops of coolant, your race is done. The details aren't just details. In this game, they are everything.
Okay, so we've covered the strategy and the hardware, but the final piece of the puzzle, the thing that truly separates the good teams from the great ones, isn't something you can hold in your hand. It's the intelligent software that runs the whole show. It's the ghost in the machine. This is such a critical point. Your world-class hardware, the pumps, the fans, the radiators, that stuff defines the maximum possible cooling your system can deliver. But it's the control strategy, the software running on the VCU, that determines how much of that potential you actually get to use on the track and how efficiently you use it. And this is where things get really, really smart. Instead of a dumb thermostat, top teams use something called Model Predictive Control, or MPC. Check this out. The car is screaming down a long straight. The controller, using its internal models, predicts that the driver is about to slam on the brakes. So before the driver's foot even moves, the system preemptively cranks the pumps and fans to 100%. Then, when that huge wave of heat from regenerative braking hits the system a second later, the coolant is already cold and moving fast, totally prepared to soak it all up. It doesn't react, it anticipates. And what's amazing is this approach doesn't just boost thermal performance, it saves a ton of energy. Look at this. Compared to a simple on-off control, a smart MPC strategy can cut the energy used by the cooling system by up to 60%. That's precious energy that you're not wasting, which means less load on your whole system. So if you were going to take one thing away from this entire playbook, let it be this. A winning thermal system is not a reactive firefighter, just running around putting out fires as they pop up. It's an intelligent, proactive strategist. It's a system that thinks ahead, managing heat and optimizing energy to squeeze out every last drop of performance, often before the driver even knows a decision was made for them. And that kind of leaves us with one final big question. As these control systems get smarter, more predictive, and more deeply tied into how the car behaves, you have to wonder, in this relentless race for performance, are we getting to a point where the next champion driver isn't a person at all, but an algorithm?